Hi everybody, my name is Dr. Perry James and I'll be teaching you in this Microsoft Power presentation on how to be a good lecturer. I welcome you and I hope you will enjoy. So there's a great saying by William Arthur Ward which says that the mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, the great teacher inspires. So what this means is that every time we teach our students, they are supposed to get inspiration from us. They're supposed to have what they dream about. Their goals, their visions have to be reignited when they encounter us, when we lecture them, when we teach them. Those things that I mentioned, their visions, their dreams have to come alive. You have to bring out the best out of them as you teach them. So, how does one become a lecturer? You know, in this modern world nowadays, teaching in a college or in a higher education institution does not necessarily require you to be trained. You just get your PhD, you join a faculty, then they give you a course, they assume that you are able to teach, and they allocate you as a course, a cohort of students to teach. Then you become a lecturer by default. But this is not supposed to be the case, because this results in the consistent use of teaching techniques that have repeatedly been shown to be ineffective at promoting learning. You have to be undergo training for you to become an effective teacher, for you to become an effective lecturer. Being a knowledge expert is not enough for you to be a lecturer. So according to the Zambia Higher Education Authority, a lecturer is a scholar with demonstrated competence in his or her field of specialization, evidenced by someone who participates in research. Okay, you have to be, by default, if you're a lecturer, you have to be invested in research. You have to have a network and collaborate with others in research groups, research networks. Then the second point is that you have, after you've done your research, you have to publish all this research work in scholarly publications. These are peer-reviewed journals. These are well-respected journals that you publish your work in. Then a lecturer is someone who by default teaches, and then someone who participates in the life of the university and public service. So the lecturer might be a lecturer, might be an administrator, plus teachers at the same university. So yeah. So what are the qualities of a good lecturer? So personal attributes are patience. A good lecturer ought to be patient, understanding that students have diverse strengths and needs. These are people that come from different backgrounds. These are people who have different behavioral predispositions. These are people with different cognitive abilities. So the lecturer is supposed to be able to factor in all those things and be patient with the students. A good lecturer also is someone who is supposed to be empathetic, someone who is able to put themselves in the shoes of the students, because remember that as a lecturer, as a PhD holder, as a doctor, you were once a student, so you're supposed to be able to relate with the students' challenges, triumphs, disappointments, because you have been a student before. Then a good lecturer is one who is adaptable, who is able to adjust their teaching methods when things are not working, when students are blank, when students are completely confused, when students are not able to understand. When you ask them questions, they're not able to respond, they're not able to give the right answers. You need to change your approach. So you need to be very adaptable as a lecturer, a good lecturer. Okay, a good lecturer is also one who seeks continuous professional development, who continuously expands their knowledge through reading about latest trends and research in their respective field, reading journals, participating in research. So this is someone who is continuously trying to improve themselves, who is trying to pursue new knowledge and trying to stay abreast with what is happening, because that is very important. As a lecturer, you want to teach content that is relevant and content that is up to date. Then a good lecturer is one whose delivery is good. They have got good, clear communication. Their verbal communication is so good. They have a very good projection. They are loud enough. Their rate of delivery of words is not too slow. It's neither too fast. They are able to communicate non-verbally, such as using hand gestures, a thumbs up, a thumbs down. They are able to use facial gestures like smiling, okay, grimacing. They should be able to also look students in their eyes when they are talking to the student. When a student is answering a question that the lecturer has posed, the lecturer is supposed to look the student in the eye. So the lecturer is supposed to have both good verbal communication and non-verbal communication. A good lecturer is one who also takes keen interest in interacting with his students by posing questions, reflective questions, asking the students to reflect over a certain question, over a certain point that has been raised, asking the students what they think about the lesson, so that the students are able to answer and give real-time feedback about the learning process that is happening. Because this is very important, because this is a formative assessment, it's instantaneous assessment. Then a good lecturer is one who presents his content that is in alignment with the curriculum. So you want to teach what the curriculum prescribes. You don't want to teach things that are outside the curriculum. So you want to teach things that are in the curriculum. You want to teach things that are prescribed in the syllabus. So part of the content, as the lecturer prepares the lesson, his or her learning objectives must be smart. They must be specific. They must be very specific. At the end of this lesson, students should be able to do so and so and so. They must be measurable. You have to have a form of assessment that is able to measure and assess those learning objectives. They must be achievable within that time frame of learning. They must be, importantly, they must be relevant. They must be time bound. They must be time bound. They must be realistic enough for that learning time that these objectives can be achieved. Then a good lecturer is one who is very well organized in their presentation. So they can organize their presentation based on things such as sequence, okay, starting from lower aspects going up. Let's say a teacher is talking about education, lecturers talking about education. They can talk about primary education up to secondary, up to tertiary. They can sequence their lecture in that way. Another point is a good lecturer can sequence, organize their presentation based on complexity. So starting with simple concepts going to the hard concepts. Then they can be systematic, okay? This is just a way of organization based on systems, okay? If it's a lecturer teaching biology about the human body, they might consider talking about the systems, the cardiovascular system, the gastrointestinal system, okay, the musculoskeletal system. If you're talking about an organization, you might talk about the different departments, marketing, okay, the accounts department, the sales department, and so on and so forth. Then another way of organizing your lecture and its presentation is based on familiarity, okay? You can start with concepts that the students are familiar with before you introduce concepts that students are not familiar with. Then another important aspect of the content is incorporating multimedia. You have to use different media such as images, videos, animations, audio in the content so that you augment learning. Okay, so as you present your lecture, you might want to put in animations, you might want to put in images, pictures, videos, so that concepts that are hard can be easily explained through those images, through those videos, and all those forms of multimedia. This helps the student understand easily and return information. Okay, a good lecturer is also one who prioritizes assessments. formative and summative assessments. Formative assessments, we all know, is done during the lessons. These are like end of topic quizzes. These are fill in the blanks, multiple choice questions at the end of the class. Then you're talking about summative assessments. These are like after a long period of learning, end of semester, end of term examination, mock examinations, projects, term projects, research projects, so forth and so on. So these are very important. So a lecturer has to consider assessments, because when you assess your students, you are able to gauge if your students have understood what you have taught them, what you are teaching them in terms of formative assessment, and in summative assessment, what if the students have gotten what you have taught them over a long period of time. And then other forms of assessments are peer reviews. So a good lecturer is invested about their own performance, so they can ask other teachers, other lecturers to come and assess them using some standardized assessment tools. So they can invite their peers whilst they are teaching, so that they are assessed on maybe communication, the way they present the lecture, the content of the lecture, if there is enough interaction with the students, and so on and so forth. Then a good lecturer is also one who gives out course evaluation surveys. This is important as it is used to draw feedback from students. So you give the students to fill in a survey, then they give you the data, so that as a lecturer you're able to improve on the mistakes, you're able to improve on your teaching methods, you're able to improve on your communication, you're able to improve on the content. If the students felt it wasn't relevant, you're able to change things, and be a better lecturer, be a better communicator. And then reflective teaching is where you reflect on a critical incident during your lecture in which your teaching methods didn't go as planned. So you think about what happened and how you can remedy. So I would like to ask you, what are your strengths that can make you a good lecturer? What are your weaknesses that you need to improve on to be a good lecturer? So a good lecturer is someone who is patient, understanding, someone who is empathetic, prioritizes continuous professional development, is a good communicator, prepares lessons that align with the curriculum, prioritizes assessment. So these are my references and teaching materials. Thank you so much for your attention.